So, welcome to Backstage Interviews from the February edition of Silver Investor Forum. I'm here with Steve Cope, President and CEO of Silver VIPR. Steve, thanks for being here, and thanks for talking to us about Silver VIPR today.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. It was fun doing the conference, and thanks again for your support and invitation to participate in the conference, and to Metals Investor Forum for their help. It was a good time, and I hope your followers and the people that watched, enjoyed that conference. And now we can, talk a little more deeply after and see what we can go from here.
Absolutely. So, Steve, just remind us maybe a little bit about where your project La Virginia is located and what the importance is of jurisdiction.
Yeah, I mean, for us as a group, Silver VIPR sits and it's a member of the Belcara Group, and we got the three public companies, but jurisdiction is everything to us. In this case, we're in eastern Sonora in Mexico, which is the #1 gold producing state in Mexico. Long, rich history of mining. There's no additional royalties to the government in Sonora. It's most of the producers of gold and silver that operate in Mexico have a mine in that state. It's a great place to work for us. Again, we're very careful of jurisdiction, and within Mexico, we're selective. And so for us in Mexico, it's either Durango state or Sonora state predominantly. Some of the surrounding areas in those surrounding states, but that's where we're most comfortable. And again, we love jurisdiction. It's hard enough to find a mine without having all the other problems that can come with being in a poor jurisdiction.
Definitely. So tell us maybe a little bit more about La Virginia, the size of the project, what kind of grades we're looking at, and maybe how you're advancing it now.
Yeah, I mean, La Virginia's been a bit interesting. When we first started exploring on it, we were really focused on the high-grade veining. That's what we saw in the historic work that was done by Mine Finders and Pan American before us on the project. But then we started to discover these broad low-grade halos, both around our high-grade mineralization and in a new zone that we found at the end of last year that sits 100 meters to the west of our main mineralized zone. And it really started to show the open pit potential, especially in the El Ruby area of the project. So that's become a very important part of how we're looking at it, how we're modeling it. We're working on our maiden resource on the project right now, and that's going to be a big component to that resource, is that broad low grade potential on top of the high grade. When we're in the high grade, you mentioned what the grades are looking at. We've hit some pretty spectacular multi-kilogram silver equivalents as far as the high grade goes. But then in this low grade, we're seeing these broad 100-meter long zones that average, when we talk open pit, I'll switch to gold grades a bit because that's kind of more open pit heap leach, what you focus on in Sonora. But kind of that 0.5 gram to 1 gram gold equivalent. And in our case, our discovery there was a 0.75 gold and 38 grams silver. So we still had a decent low grade silver component that'll produce some pretty good ounces. To that, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, silver doesn't leach, but even there with our preliminary metallurgy, we saw our silver recoveries up, anywhere from 62 to 75%, and that on the leaching, which is a great start. And then, we'll do some additional work to show how we would recover the high grade silver. But no, we're off to a great start. We're working on the maiden resource, and some pretty good grades and certainly attractive grades for both the open pit and the underground.
Super. So how's it being advanced right now? I mean, I'm assuming you're doing a fair bit of drilling. How much do you expect to do this year?
Yeah, I mean, we did over 20,000 meters of drilling last year. I would expect to at least do that again this year. We'll announce it as a 5,000 meter program, but we'll just keep going based on success like we did last year. We drill year round other than a pause for about a month around Christmas break, which is kind of just traditional and normal in Mexico for the long extended Christmas holidays for, as a break. But we resumed our third phase of drilling just over a week ago. I think we've completed 4 holes already in that program, and all of those are focused on the El Ruby area of the project. We're working on that maiden resource. We'll have it out, should be out by the end of Q1, hopefully sooner, but at least by the end of March. We've just finalizing the wireframes, and that'll go off to the independent. We've already done our site visit and everything else that's associated with that, all the check assays on the historic drilling, and everything's in line and in order with the independent and ready to go.
And what kind of grades have you been coming across, both sort of the lower grade versus the higher grade, and maybe you can give us a bit of an idea how that looks, and what kinds of other metals are you coming across as well?
So in our deposit, it's pretty much pure gold and silver. We're about 55% gold, 45% silver. The grade, I mean, like you say, it falls in. I haven't seen the grade yet for ruby and how it'll fall in with the wireframes. Wait and see on the resource on that. But again, we've got these low grade zones that average that half gram to a gram, maybe sometimes a little bit higher, equivalent gold equivalent, and then you get that high grade zone, and I'm not sure what it'll average, but we've got a lot of kilogram plus silver equivalent material in that high grade zone. Sometimes maybe it's 400 or 500 grams silver equivalent. It depends on the section and the intercept there. That zone averages anywhere from 1 meter to 8 meters wide, depending on the section, the main structure. And then you get these narrower kind of half meter to a meter high grade stringer structures that kind of, you look at them a little bit like a flower coming out into a stemming of that main structure. And then these mostly vertical structures and that's one of our concepts is down at depth, that they're all going to come together, and as we continue to move deeper, we'll get that to the roots of the system. But that's kind of, I mean, the high grade, call it a 500 silver to a kilogram on that main structure, and then but in a resource, I mean, it's all going to get blended together, and we'll see what that ends up looking like.
So given how it's laid out from what you've seen so far, do you see potential to I mean, I know this is really early, but on some level to maybe get at the higher grade earlier? Do you see that sort of option?
Yeah, I think from a mining perspective, absolutely. I mean, these structures go right from surface. They're vertical, and you can follow them down. But both our low grade, new zone that we discovered 100 meters west of the main structure, and the main ruby structure go right from surface. We've taken them as deep as 350 meters so far. So it's definitely something that you're going to be able to mine right from the get-go.
That's great. We know that higher grade early is helpful for payback and
payback VIPR.
Exactly. Absolutely. So tell me, are any royalties on the project? Is that something
there is there are 2 royalties. One is just on the internal claims where the historic work was done, and that is a 2% NSR that we have the right to buy back. We can buy it back for, I believe it's $2 million in the first 5 years and $3 million after that. And then part of acquiring the project for the large surrounding land package, all the historic data, we gave Pan American a 2% NSR project wide. And that, they've got, that's theirs. It can't be bought back. But those are the only NSRs on the project. Okay.
Sounds like there's going to be some really, interesting and hopefully exciting news flow to look forward to over the next weeks and months. And is there something else that you'd like to add, and maybe listeners would be interested to know we haven't covered?
Well, I mean, again, we've talked about it in the past, but it's just this sector right now, and people need to really take notice of what's going on. These bull markets, when they happen, are very long, very broad in our sector. Some people focus on the near term ups and downs, but when I'm talking about a bull run, I'm talking on a macro scale, and these tend to last 8 to 10 years. They are kind of unprecedented across a lot of sectors, at the value they get and the money that's, wealth that's created during these bull runs for investors. And right now, I think we're positioned very well for one of these bull runs. I think we're a year into kind of that run now. We'll see. Obviously in the last little bit, we've seen a pullback in metals prices, but that's healthy and normal for, these bull runs. I think it's one of those where you look back 8-9 years down the road and look back and laugh when you were like, why were we concerned about silver pulling back 50 cents or $1 in a week, or gold dropping $100 here over a month, because I think we're going to be setting quite substantially new highs for the metal in this cycle, both metals in this cycle. And especially right now with silver, there's not a lot of quality companies on the exploration side that you can get exposure to. The silver producers are in desperate need to build their pipelines. COVID has created a huge problem for them to do a lot of that M&A activity because it's limited travel. And so people that get positioned in companies like ours are going to not only have exposure to things like the resource and drill results and the normal catalysts, that I think you're going to see quite a rush on M&A, and I think we'll be at the top of a lot of people's lists.
Excellent. Well, with that, I think that we've done a good job of getting good overview of the company. And I certainly invite everyone listening to go and have a look at your website to get more info if they're interested. And Steve, thank you for that overview.